Hi there, this is Praying Medic, and this is my news update for Wednesday, January 3rd. Thank you for joining us. All right, so last night, there's all this drama about the president and his tweets, and I listened to the press conference this morning, and the press was going after Sarah Huckabee Sanders about Trump and his tweets. His button is bigger than Kim Jong-un's button. And is that really professional? Is that presidential? And why is he tweeting like that? Isn't that juvenile? And people are questioning his sanity. How can a leader of the free world be tweeting about nuclear buttons? That's just juvenile. All the moral outrage. I don't know. I find it funny myself. I think it's funny as heck that Trump is tweeting about that stuff. You can't, unless you have really good intelligence and knowledge of what's going on in North Korea, you would not be tweeting that stuff. And obviously the president has really good information about what's going on in North Korea and what isn't. And the press probably doesn't. So they don't get the joking and they don't get the humor because they don't have the information. The rest of us, we just trust the president. We're like, you know what? Trump knows exactly what's going on over there, what their capabilities are. He's trolling Kim Jong-un because he knows Kim Jong-un can't do anything. You know, our intelligence is really good. It's very likely that we could mess up any missile launch that they have at any time we want. So it's okay for Trump to troll Kim Jong-un because Trump is in a position of greater power. So it may not be professional. People may not like it, but it is what it is. So in all of the drama, the wash up last night, North Korea and South Korea, there are some changes. There was actually a hotline, kind of like the red phone that Reagan used to have to Gorbachev in the Kremlin. There's a red phone, there's a hotline between South Korea and North Korea. That hotline got cut a couple of years ago. They just got rid of it. North Korea didn't want it. And last night, North Korea said they're going to reestablish that hotline of communication between North and South Korea. And there's been a lot of discussions about reestablishing communication, having negotiations over the Olympics and some other things too. So I think what we're seeing as far as diplomacy goes from North Korea towards South Korea is good. They seem to be warming up to diplomatic relations. Read a story that, and actually these have been several stories. If you're on Twitter and you don't follow this account called Noon in Korea, you might want to follow them. I like them. The person who is in charge of that account used to live in North Korea. They publish regular news updates, and it's really just on current events, political events, and the military in North and South Korea in that whole area. And they publish it both in Korean and English. So you can read the updates there. I like getting their updates. It helps me keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on over there in North and South Korea. So just throwing that out there. They have been reporting that soldiers have been defecting over the last couple of weeks. And interestingly, usually when a soldier or anyone defects from North Korea to South Korea, across a demilitarized zone, they don't usually survive. They get shot. To be a defector from North Korea is pretty much a death sentence. Well, lately they haven't been shooting at people who are defecting. They've been letting them go across the border. That's one of the reports that I've read, and that's been for a couple of weeks now. There are also new reports coming out that North Korea is allowing their soldiers temporary leave to go out into the country and look for food. Because if you know much about North Korea, there's not a lot of food, and it's winter right now. And so there are some reports coming out that North Korea is allowing their soldiers several weeks of leave to go and find food. So there's just some interesting things going on in North Korea. And I think mostly what I'm seeing is I'm optimistic about. There are people who are talking about World War III and all this threat of nuclear war. I don't think that's a realistic threat right now, not in the immediate future. No one that I follow a lot of different intelligence sources, and no one that I'm listening to and seeing is concerned about imminent threat of nuclear war. So I don't think it's something we need to worry about. Going to Iran, the protests are continuing. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard has gotten involved in trying to put down the protesters. It's turned more violent. People are getting killed. That is just a situation that's developing. We need to keep those people in prayer and keep our leaders in prayer. Mike Pence has been focusing a lot on the situation in Iran, and he actually had a trip to the Middle East planned before Christmas that was canceled because of the tax vote. He had to be there in case he needed to break the tie. Well, they were going to reschedule his trip to the Middle East, and now it's been postponed indefinitely. So we don't know when Pence is going to be going to the Middle East. And the situation in Iran just popped up. So they may want to include a stop, possibly, for the vice president when that situation comes a little bit more into focus. Its situation is in flux. We just keep the president and vice president in prayer. Turning to U.S. news. Oh, I can throw this out there. Just read a news article about power. They're setting up microgrids in Puerto Rico. And it's just a small electrical grid. They call it a microgrid. They've set up 4 of them in Puerto Rico in the last 2 or 3 months. They are getting power restored to places of Puerto Rico that hadn't had power for years. So just to keep people updated, they are making progress on getting Puerto Rico reestablished. Unfortunately, there's a lot of corruption and graft going on down there, and there are a lot of politicians who are skimming money off of the aid that's coming in, and that's unfortunate, but it is a kind of a corrupt system. But we're hearing some good news on that. Bill Schuster, who is a Republican representative from Pennsylvania, he's chairman of the House Transportation Committee, announced he will not run for re-election in 2018. So we've got one more person in Congress, they're out. And this is not involving a sexual scandal as far as I know. He just announced this morning he is not running for re-election. There is, of course, the story that Hill and Hillary Clinton's home caught fire this morning about probably an hour and a half ago. I was following this on Twitter. It was reported to be a bedroom fire. It was quickly extinguished, not a lot of damage. Of course, everyone in the world is throwing out there, what are they trying to get rid of? What are they trying to burn evidence? Look, whatever evidence the Department of Justice would need to prosecute the Clintons, it's not going to be in their house. So I don't think there's really anything to make of this. People are going to want to make of it. They're going to have to be suspicious. They're trying to get rid of things. But I don't know that that's actually the case. I don't know. If you want to go diving down a rabbit hole, hey, there's a big old rabbit hole. Go jump in that thing and go talk to people who like going into rabbit holes. You'll have fun with it. Robbie Mook, who is Hillary's former campaign chairman, has been accused of protecting a friend who has been sexually harassing women. That actually came out of the Podesta emails that were leaked by WikiLeaks. People kind of overlooked that, but now in light of all the Harvey Weinstein and the sexual allegations, Robbie Mook is now coming under a little more closer scrutiny for his role in potentially protecting people who were sexual harassers and abusers. So we'll see how that goes. Paul Manafort is suing Robert Mueller, Rod Rosenstein, and the Justice Department. Just tweeted that out. Byron York tweeted it out. There's a bunch of other people that are reporting on it. And this is an interesting lawsuit. Manafort's attorneys are contending that Rod Rosenstein did not sufficiently narrow down the scope of Mueller's investigation, and that previous interviews, previous information prior to the investigation, interviews that the FBI had with Manafort, that information is now being used to indict him and charge him with things that were not listed under the charter that Mueller was given by Rosenstein. And the accusation is, the concern is that Rosenstein didn't sufficiently narrow down his charter for Robert Mueller's team and didn't actually specify a crime that they were trying to investigate. And this has been a bone of contention with a lot of people. Andrew McCarthy has written about it. Dershowitz has written about it. They said, look, it's very unusual for a special counsel to be given this broad a latitude in an investigation. They have essentially said, look, this isn't an investigation of a crime. It is an investigation that's looking for a crime. They didn't specify what crime they were looking for up front. They just said, look, investigate, and whatever you find, whatever's connected, if you find anything wrong, you can prosecute it. So Manafort's attorneys, their lawsuit is based on the idea, and it essentially says that they violated Department of Justice policies and procedures by failing to adequately set out in the charter what the team was supposed to investigate. So we'll see where that goes. It may go nowhere, but there is a lawsuit out there now. Right. Yeah, I mean, a very broad investigation just allows you to go fishing for whatever you want to find. And that is not how our justice system is set up. So, got some breaking news. I just saw this tweeted out. Paul Ryan has been is now in a meeting right now with Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray, FBI head, over the Russia investigation. It's happening right now. Let me get you my tweet here. This is a tweet from my guy on the Hill. It says, Deputy Attorney Rosenstein asked to meet with Speaker Ryan, and we have accommodated his request. So this is a statement from Paul Ryan's office. They said that Rosenstein approached Paul Ryan, asked if he could meet with him, and Paul Ryan said yes. And then Chris Wray came in. He's also in the meeting. So it was at the request of Rosenstein, and we don't really know what it's about other than it is about the Russia investigation. So that's a developing story. Jim Jordan, one of the guys I really like in Congress, and Chuck Grassley have both tweeted out this morning about accountability of government agencies like the Department of Justice to the people. See, this is kind of in response to Eric Holder. He's been tweeting out, and Sally Yates has been tweeting out. They've been talking about how there's this attack on the Justice Department. And I've been following Grassley for a while in his investigations, and he has gotten nowhere with the FBI. He has repeatedly, for years, been asking Comey and Mueller to produce reports on people and give information, and he gets everything is slow-walked, everything is stonewalled. They just don't. Grassley feels like the FBI does not want to cooperate. They don't want oversight. They want to do whatever they want to do, and they just ignore requests for any information. Devin Nunes has been getting the same treatment, and these congressional leaders are tired of it. And so they're really focusing, and I think in the next week or two, you're going to see, especially as the Inspector General's report comes out on the 15th, you're going to see a real sharp focus on accountability, on how these agencies, Department of Justice, FBI, feel like they're not accountable to the people, to our elected representatives. See, people in FBI and DOJ, they're not elected. We don't vote for them. We vote for senators and representatives, and they go to Congress and they represent us, and they hold these agencies accountable. And what we have right now is a situation where these agencies feel like they can do whatever they want, run things their own way, and they're not accountable to us. So that is the focus of this core group of congressional leaders: Chuck Grassley, Devin Nunes, Bob Goodlatte, Jim Jordan. They are trying to rein in this out-of-control deep state machine, as Trump has called the Department of Justice, the deep state Department of Justice. There's a power struggle going on right now. Trump and his people on his side are trying to take down this multi-headed animal, the deep state. And there's a battle. That's what the battle is over right now. Speaking of the deep state, there is a new article out from Washington Post, the CIA's favorite DC-based newspaper, that and the article is lamenting the loss of NSA employees due to low wages, low morale, and unpopular reorganization. So people in the NSA are whining and complaining because they're not making enough money. Job's not any fun anymore. They're taking away all the cool stuff. We can't do the things we want to do. Nobody's happy anymore. We're just going to leave. So there's a bunch of people leaving the NSA. Does that break your heart? I know you guys look really sad over that. Sorry about that. I don't know. Me hearing the Washington Post whining about people leaving the NSA does not actually break my heart. But that's just me. All right. All right. Steve Bannon and Trump. So this book is going to be published. It's going to come out. And in it, the author quotes Steve Bannon as ripping on the president. And not so much the president, but the president's kid, Don Jr. and Kushner. And look, Bannon has had a thing in for Don Jr. and Kushner for a long time. It's not a big secret. We all know that, right? And that has been one of the main sources of tension inside the White House for a long time. Bannon doesn't like Kushner, doesn't like Don Jr., and they don't like him. And so there's this he said, she said thing going on. And Trump came out and said, you know, when Steve Bannon left the White House, he lost his mind. All right. Wow, really? President doesn't pull punches. So I'm just going to say this, and people have been wondering, where'd the story come from? Is this even, accurately sourced information? What's the story behind all of this? Is this a distraction? All right. On December 17th, I had a dream. And I've talked to you about this a little bit in previous broadcasts. In this dream, there was a negative news story that came out about the president. And I saw in the dream that the story was not true. It was just an attempt to smear the president and his family and his team. And I also knew that there was more to the story than was obvious on the surface, more than meets the eye. And I also knew I should not comment on it, share it, or say anything about it really until a couple of days had passed, because it seemed like this was almost like a media psyop to get the focus on something and focus attention away from something else. And I didn't want to get distracted by it. And I felt like in a couple of days, the truth was going to come out about this if I just waited for a couple of days. So that's the dream. Now, I don't know that dream was actually referring to this event. I think that it was. I've been waiting for a news story to break about the president that is like really negative, and looks like it may be a psyop by some news organization. Intended to cause some bad feelings and some bad press, and so I am holding my judgment on this. I'm not going to retweet stuff about this article. I'm not going to make a lot of commentary on it. I don't think we know enough about it yet to make a good judgment on what it means or what it doesn't mean. I think that if we say, just wait a couple of days, we're going to get more information. And if we look back at it, we'll go, oh, now I see what this was all about. So I'm going to wait and just see what develops or what doesn't develop. Like I said, it's he said, she said, and I'm not terribly concerned. In the big scheme of things, this is a small issue. It's palace intrigue, and people seem to like to talk about that, but I am going to wait, see what happens. Yep. So, you guys and gals have any questions for me that I can answer before I go? Any dreams? Yes, I had a dream last night about Sundance, the last refuge. I'm going to have to wait on that dream because I don't know what it means. Q has not posted lately. That is correct. Q may not post again. Q said, you have it all. Don't know what's going on with Assange. I don't have any news. Haven't had any dreams. I had a dream about Julian Assange a long time ago, and actually sent him a direct message on Twitter about it. He didn't respond. But it's all speculation. Nobody knows where Assange is. Is he in Switzerland? Some people believe. Is he in the United States? Today is January 3rd. What are the dates that Q gave us? January 4th, January 10th, and January 20th. Big dates. So tomorrow is supposed to be a big day according to Q, depending on how you read Q's posts. Don't know about Assange. It's all speculation. Q site is, just go and Google Reddit calm before the storm stream, and you'll go to that Reddit site. That is the best place to get information on Q. All of the Q posts are there. Frequently asked questions are there. They have a map of all of Q's posts. They've got diagrams there. There's a lot of information if you're interested in Q. And also, I posted on my Twitter timeline an FBI Anon post. This was a post back in July of 2016, before the election. It's actually before James Comey cleared Hillary of her charges, and it was right after Loretta Lynch met Bill Clinton on the tarmac. It was just a couple of days afterward. So that post that I put on Twitter, the FBI Anon, is incredibly insightful. You can just read through it. There's no code. There's no riddles. It's very straightforward. It's for a person who was a pretty high-level analyst in the FBI who wanted to give us information at that time. And the people who have read it this morning have gone, wow, this is really good stuff. So if you're interested, I posted it on my Twitter timeline. You guys can go check that out. FBI Anon was a great read. It blew my mind. That's why I've been researching. Ever since the FBI Anon, I've just been doing research. I do periodically go and hit up George Webb on his YouTube channel. I do follow Tracy Beans. By the way, I've been thinking about adding a Tracy Beans channel to Freedom News Project, which is my news aggregation website. Freedom News Project, if you haven't been there, I take YouTube channels and YouTube playlists, and I have channels for all of these different people. Alex Jones, or I did have one for Alex Jones. I used to have Alex Jones, Stefan Molyneux, Paul Joseph Watson. Your Voice America is on there. Let's see. Tucker Carlson, Hannity, Laura Ingraham. I have my own channel on there. And then there's Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin. They all have their own channels on there, and you can catch their latest podcasts or videos. Well, I got rid of some of them a little while ago because they were actually posting some stuff that was really kind of lame and not very helpful, I didn't think. So I got rid of their channels, but I can add them in again later. I'm going to create, I think, a Tracy Beans channel on Freedom News Project because I think people would find that interesting. So I'll just create a channel there. I'll have all her videos, and you can go there and watch them if you want. If there's any other people, I think I had a George Webb channel on there at one point too, but George has been all over the place lately. He's really hard to follow. George is brilliant, but oh my gosh, the guy needs to take some decaf. He's a little hard to, he's all over the place. So I will create some more channels. If you guys and gals, give me some suggestions and I'll make channels for different things. It's a little bit of work to create a playlist and to maintain it. You have to update it daily and get the latest videos, but I am interested in doing that. People have been supporting me financially, and if you're going to support me financially, I'll do the best work that I can. So I like providing resources for people that are helpful. B-E-A-N-Z, Tracy Beans. She is like a lot of internet investigators. She's working on multiple projects. Tracy is working on Q. She has also done a lot of work on other things of interest, just like George Webb, just like Jason Goodman. They're all kind of, they have their hands in a lot of different things. you know. And that's kind of like me. I might hand in a lot of different things. Right now, mainly it's, you know, figuring out what the heck is the deep state doing to us. So, yeah, if you're interested in financial support, I don't have a Patreon account yet. I do have a PayPal account, and you can go to prayingmedic.com, and there's a PayPal donate button there. There's also one on freedomnewsproject.com. Little PayPal button. It's about that big. You can hardly notice it. Little yellow thing. You can click on that and just make a donation if you find this helpful. I don't like begging for donations. That's not how I'm wired. But we are very blessed by the people that have been supporting us financially. And it helps me be a slacker and not have to write books. And I can do all this investigation all day long, which Denise seems to like. My books, I published 12 books so far. The average paperback book, I have two kinds of paperbacks. There is a full, hang on a second. All right. Here are some of my books. I never promote my books much. Divine Healing Made Simple. Sing in the Spirit Made Simple. Okay. Oh, look, there's a copy. Hearing God's Voice Made Simple. Traveling in the Spirit Made Simple. It's not New Age. Well, it could be, but not the stuff that we do. God Speaks is another one. So these are the full-length books that I write. You can get them on Amazon or at Barnes & Noble. They're about $13 each in paperback. The Kindles are $10 each. And then I've got some thin books. These are very easy to read books, Defeating Your Adversary in the Court of Heaven. And there is Emotional Healing Made Simple. These books are really thin. You can read these books in like a half hour. Those are $5 on Amazon. The Kindles are 99 cents. These short little books I've written, gosh, probably 4 or 5 short little books. I wrote one on economic collapse. I've written some on the courts of heaven. I write on emotional healing, 99 cents. All the little short Kindle books, 99 cents. And if you cannot afford to buy one of my books, and you really, really want to learn about the subject matter, and you honestly don't have the money, send me an email, contact me, and I do make free PDF copies available for most of my books for people who can't afford to buy them. So I've always made available the option of a free PDF for people who aren't able to afford my books. Because if you really want to learn and you want to know this subject matter, I will give you a free copy. Because I love teaching. It's what I do. Y'all take care. That's my update for the day. I love you. I think you're all amazing. Thank you for supporting me financially. Share this with your friends. I will catch you on the next broadcast.